Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for Libra Rising, also known as the Ascendant. And the rising sign is the image that you present to other people. Now, this may not be calculating where you're trying to be phony or anything like that. It may come very naturally to you. My theory is that it's connected to your childhood and how you needed to fit in to function within that family unit. And this is based upon reading that it's most influential during the first 30 years of life, which I tied into one Saturn return. And after the Saturn return, which is around 30 or, that vicinity, a person tends to kind of shrug off the influences of childhood and the parental influence much more readily. Because when you think about it, when you're in your 20s, you're still kind of dependent on your parents to some degree if you're living the typical middle-class lifestyle, I guess, where you're going to college and things like that. It's going to differ based on culture and other factors, but in general, I think that's when people tend to really grow up. It can be the time when you start to reproduce and then you see yourself in your child. I think that can be a big one. And you realize the kind of indoctrination that was given to you, even sometimes when you get along with your parents. But I will say that if your rising sign is quite a bit different than your sun sign, if it's in what we would call like an incompatible element or sign, it is going to produce, to me, it shows that you may have felt like you didn't fit in with your family of origin. Like, for instance, if your rising sign is Libra and your sun sign is, I was going to say Cancer, for instance, that forms a square. And you may have like these feelings that you were not given enough nurturing in the way that you needed, that your feelings were not really dealt with in a very genuine way. Maybe you felt that they were kind of intellectualized rather than felt by those around you. Look to the moon sign, though, too, for the actual nurturing from the mother and the influence from the mother, because that can provide additional clues. But the reason I'm looking so forward to this is because I had started this video a couple of days ago and had to stop it. And what I was kind of coming up with was kind of intriguing to me. And because we're talking about maybe false advertising in the form of the rising sign, I was thinking that for some people, you may have come from families where you were required to, make it seem like you were perfect in order to make the family look good. So let's say that you came from a prominent family in your community. You had a parent who was a doctor or who was a principal of a school or even a teacher of a school, but like a minister's child, something along those, a politician's child. And you had to just kind of fit into what they wanted to project like that everything was okay if there was actual, like, especially if there was dysfunction behind the scenes, which there can often be because it's hard to maintain this kind of perfection, okay? And in some professions, like, for instance, the clergy, their children are expected to not misbehave, be perfect so that it reflects well on them. And I do feel that a lot of Librans, or whether it can be sun sign too, but prominent Librans, sun, moon, or rising sign, may feel like they have to be on. They have to have this image. So the rising sign becomes really indicative of that. The rising sign can affect how you look because it's the cusp of the first house of the self, including the body. So for Libra rising, because the rising sign's ruler is your ruler, we're talking about your ruler being Venus. There are two signs that have Venus as their ruler, Taurus and Libra. These two signs on the ascendant will tend to be physically attractive. And I have Taurus rising. And also they tend to be artistic, by the way. But the difference between Taurus and Libra in terms of physical appearance can be that Taurus represents some more earthy qualities, which we associate with sensuality. And with Libra, it's more of the kind of beauty that you could call chiseled good looks, where they may have perfectly proportioned faces and bodies. And yet, because it's an air sign, some Libra people, prominent Librans, may be out of touch with their bodies. They may be in their mind. So their body is kind of like this foreign entity to them. So the sensuality, the sexual, sexy qualities may be more subdued. It may be more of that kind of, I'm thinking of a sun in Libra type of an example, famous people, Catherine Deneuve and Gwyneth Paltrow. I believe they are both sun in Libra. I have to always state that now because somebody called me out when I said that Steve Jobs was a Scorpio, and it turned out he wasn't. So I stand corrected. I think he was actually a Pisces. I'll bet you he has Scorpio rising, though. He has like kind of that look, that intense look. Okay. But anyway, or had, I should say. So I almost laughed when I was talking about this sexy versus beautiful debate, because I did a video a while ago about, I think it was dealing with, I think it was for Libra, and I think I got the Empress card, which I stand corrected. I guess it does relate to Libra as well. Everything that I said, it was connected to Taurus, but actually to Venus. And because it's considered the Earth Mother, I naturally went with Taurus. But it is also, I did see a reference to Libra as well, so I'm going to always include that. But I mentioned that, I think I said something about Libra, not being known as sexy or something like that. And I think I got a little bit of flack from some Librans. But I hope that you understand what I mean, Libra rising, about that. Let me think of somebody famous who I think of as sexy. Now, they can be beautiful too, but that earthiness really is front and center. And I'm not going to say Kim Kardashian. Oh, and Kim Kardashian is a sun in Libra. Now, if her rising sign is Taurus, this is a perfect example of somebody that wants to look like sexy by having these curves, whether they're fake or not, wanting to put them in. So I'm going to do that as maybe I'll pause. Okay, I checked, and her rising sign is actually Sagittarius of all things. And there was somebody else who I just found out had Sagittarius rising. Oh, you know who it was Brigitte Bardot. Now here, that's another one who, I felt like she had to be Taurus rising, and she wasn't. She had Sagittarius rising. With Kim Kardashian, her moon is in Pisces, which is another sign that I associate with being voluptuous and, having full lips. Even if it's the moon sign, wanting that. I mean, having it, Botox can do that for you too. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying you don't need to be born with it to have it. But in any case, this is totally off topic, but Kim Kardashian is born on October 21st. So she's very close to Scorpio. And Scorpio is the opposite sign of Taurus. Oh, well, I got myself into the weeds on that one. But anyway, getting back to what I'm trying to say, I don't want to use her as an example because I want somebody because I think she might have, I don't know what her original body type was like. She's altered it so much. And that's just a fact. I mean, she has. So I don't want to use her as an example. Who is an example of somebody who is sexy, who I would actually know about? I don't know about a lot of these young stars. I actually, as I was trying to Google famous like Taurus actresses, I just thought one that popped in my mind is Michelle Pfeiffer. Now, Michelle Pfeiffer has a beautiful face, but she also is known as being sexy, hot, But then you think about somebody like, I'll go back to Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow is beautiful. I mean, I've seen pictures of her. Maybe some people did that, she wouldn't do anything for them. But there are certain people that you stare at their image and you just think, wow, they're just exquisite in how they look. And that is, I separate from being sexy. Okay. And that is something, Michelle Pfeiffer kind of has like the best of both worlds. She seems like she has a beautiful kind of interesting face to me, and she also seems sexy. But I just want to say that being sexy is not, to me, the goal of life. Being sexy to me is like a calling card. And I think that being beautiful and being stylish, and this is one of the big things. I'm getting myself into big trouble here, but I'm going to keep this recording because I want to really impress upon Libra Rising what you have. You have a flair. If you're a Libra male, you are probably going to be a clothes horse. And if a woman is dating a Libra, maybe even a sun in Libra, but definitely somebody who has Libra rising, God help you, because if you're not into your appearance, these men are going to outdo you. They're going to take up the mirror time, and they're going to be like, they may be kind of like rolling their eyes at your outfits. And, is that in the natural order of things, metrosexuals, okay, that is the Libra rising male is that type of a guy, because you're totally into grooming, you're totally into your having a really nice outfit, harmonizing colors. You're very sensitive to that, and elegance. And so elegance, when we think of elegance, a lot of times when somebody is overtly sexy, there's a crudeness in that. It's not necessarily that. I'm trying to say this because I'm trying to compliment you. So just understand that, is that you are very elegant. And as a result, you can really capitalize on your appearance in a big way, in a way that impresses other people. But getting back to that shadow aspect of, wanting to make it seem like everything is okay in your life. If that came from your childhood, that could follow you into adulthood, and also needing that kind of harmony, peace at all costs, and trying to be the peacemaker in any situation. Not only can you get on other people's nerves if you do that compulsively, but it can create an artificial quality in life. Conflict is not to be avoided. If you're around negative people, then obviously that's not a good fit. But if you're just so triggered by any kind of, like when people start to debate and they seem to be getting a little bit heated, and that kind of makes you nervous, and you step in and say, oh, let's not talk about this, that will drive a lot of people crazy because they want to talk about things or they like to debate. So I think it is really important for Libra rising people to explore how you present yourself. Are you, be more conscious of it. Is it a little bit too important for you to look put together? Are you a little bit too concerned about your appearance? Because I want to talk about plastic surgery for a second, since we were talking about Kim Kardashian, and Sun in Libra can be this way as well. And this is not to be cruel, and this is not to, definitely not to demean anyone, because I honestly believe that it is a disorder. Just like anorexia. I think that anorexia is body dysmorphia, because I feel that Libra, Sun, maybe Moon, and Rising is very vulnerable to body dysmorphia, in that they can be physically attractive or downright beautiful and think that they're not, and start to engage in this plastic surgery. And you and I both know that it can lead to disfigurement, actually. And that is very serious when it does that, whether it's disfigurement through the addiction to plastic surgery, or whether it is due to starving oneself and death. I mean, look at Karen Carpenter. And she wasn't, I don't know what her rising sign was, but I mean, this is really serious stuff. So, everything has to be put into perspective. Appearance is superficial. It is. And it doesn't mean that we should be slobs, but by the same token, it's better to be a slob. And when I say slob, is just like being casual and being a genuine person and being a spiritual person, somebody who really believes in something beyond the body, than somebody who is just constantly obsessed with their appearance. And that is like, and really, if you get down to it, Libra rising, it may be because you want to make sure that you're loved, that you keep your partner. And that, to me, is what would be truly tragic, because anyone who is with you for your physical appearance, if you are attractive, that's superficial too. Yes, we are attracted by people's appearance, but that's only the first part of it. And then the way it's supposed to go is that the package, it's kind of like advertising, that it's the whole package. It's not just the wrapping paper. Because if you just live on the surface, you're just the wrapping paper, and you're just like rearranging the wrapping paper instead of having a content that is very profound. Libra is an air sign, so even with the rising sign, there can be natural intelligence, whether or not you ever step into a college, whether you have dropped out of high school. There can be a natural intelligence. And so cultivate that. Cultivate your other talents. Don't just be about your looks. And I'm sure some of you will say, I am more than my looks. Well, you're more than your rising sign too. I'm just trying to be as comprehensive as I can. If your sun sign is like Scorpio, for instance, and your rising sign is Libra, that can be I was going to say a weird combination, but I mean a very, the other word that came into mind is a chilling combination, where you can be very gregarious and, very friendly and sociable when you feel like it. And then when somebody gets to know you, they don't realize how intense you are. And they're like, whoa. This person is like really intense. And if your moon is in a water sign, forget about it. You can be that rising sign can give this sense of a veneer of being lighthearted and stuff like that, but you might be actually very intense. And what else can I say about Libra rising? You may have very pleasing mannerisms. You get far in life by your charm. And you know that charm can open doors for you, and you're naturally charming. This is another thing. When you were a kid, you might have been that kid who was just like the one they trotted out at parties because maybe you were precocious, maybe you were just the little dancer, the little singer, the little entertainer. And you may be very witty, and people like to have you at parties for that reason. Okay, well, I hope that you enjoyed this reading, Libra Rising, and if you're interested in this type of analysis, I do have natal chart interpretations, which are right along these lines, but even talking about more than your rising sign, of course, other aspects of your personal points, and as well as looking at what houses these planets, different planets are in, and the next 12 months, kind of some highlights in different areas of your life. So my website is rainamoonastrology.com. It's like rain, Raina, make it rain. And I should call it makeitreina.com. And the link is below. Take care. Bye.